Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. I am Ashley, and in today's video I'm going to be talking to you guys about what to do when parents are not cooperating. So I've gotten a few video requests asking me to film a video that is like this, and I also get a lot of comments from you guys basically like laying out situations and giving me scenarios of what's going on with you in your program and asking me for some advice on what you guys should do as providers. So normally 90% of the time, whenever I have a parent that's either not cooperating or not following one of my policies, whether it be my sickness policy, my hours of operation, any kind of policy that I have in my handbook, I take these steps that I'm going to be talking to you guys about in today's video. So it took me a while to get this video put together, and the only reason why is because every situation is different. So you can't treat somebody that is not following your tuition policy the same as someone that is not following your sickness policy. There are different ways that you're going to approach both of those situations, but in general, these are some steps that I normally take whenever I have a parent that's not cooperating, no matter what the situation is. I have two steps that I'm going to be talking to you guys about in today's video, but I'm also going to be throwing in some pieces of advice towards the end of the video. So if you guys are interested in that, I highly suggest you stick around because the two pieces of advice are pretty important, and I feel like they're going to help you with your program and make sure that everything is more efficient when it comes to parents not cooperating with specific policies, if that makes sense. The first thing that I normally do whenever a parent is not following one of my policies is I talk to them really briefly about it. So it might be at pickup, it might be at drop off, and I just hint at them. So for example, let's say there's a parent that hasn't paid me. Sometimes I'll shoot them a text message like, hey, I noticed that you didn't pay for this week's tuition. When should I be expecting that? Or sometimes when they drop off, I'll mention it to them. Now, when it's a fresh situation, like they haven't paid me and it's like only been one time that it has happened, I'll reach out to them through text message or whatever. But once I get really serious about it and I notice that it's becoming a habit, I don't like to talk about it through text message anymore. I like to do it verbally. So the first thing that I have is to ask them to come in early or stay a bit later, either after hours or at drop off, to have a conversation with them. You can also schedule something with them like on the weekend or something like that, depending on what it is. The purpose of this is to make sure that they're not in a rush. So again, like I said, when the situation is fresh, I can send them a text message or I can just quickly mention it at drop off and pick up. But when I am serious about it, I like to sit down and schedule something with them so that I can have a bigger, more thorough conversation to get my point across to them, because they're obviously not cooperating with your policy at this point. So you're going to want to schedule something with them. So I think when you schedule something with them verbally, it's a little bit more professional versus like a text message. And again, if you already texted them about the situation or you quickly mentioned it to them, it obviously wasn't effective because they're still violating your policies. So you might have to sit down and have like a verbal conversation. Also, verbal conversations come off a little bit more professional and they might take you a little bit more serious once you schedule something with them. I always like to think about when I was a little kid and when my teacher would tell my mom like I need to have a parent-teacher conference, you knew that it was something serious. So you want to sit down and schedule something with them, because you don't want to obviously say during drop off or pickup, because you're not going to be able to get your point across, and some parents might just like dismiss it, and then again you wouldn't get your point across. So schedule something with them. So then the next thing that I have written down, it says while having the conversation, so you already scheduled something with them and now you're having the conversation with them, make sure that there are happy mediums spoken about to see if there's something that you can come to an agreement upon. So again, the payment situation, let's say that someone hasn't paid you. When you're sitting down with them, you're gonna wanna come up with different scenarios on how to fix the situation. I personally don't like terminating families. I've only terminated one family the entire time that I've done daycare. I've had families just not show up ever again. That's happened to me before, but like actually terminating, I don't really like to do it. I like to work as best as I can to fix any problem that I have, whether it be payment, whether it be hours of operation. I really like to see if there's something that I can do to satisfy them and myself at the same time, if that makes any sense. So I like to sit down and see if there's different things that I can come up with. Like even before you sit down and have a conversation, sit down, take your notepad out and see if there's something that you can come up with. So I remember I did have a parent that fell behind with payment. She was always a week behind. So what she did was she paid $20 every week on top of her tuition until she caught up. So that's something that you might be able to do. So it just really depends on what's going on and how, obviously, how much of a balance they have with you on what you're gonna do or not. but just see if there's different things that you can come up with so that when you're having that conversation with them, there's different choices that you can give them, like, hey, maybe we can do this or maybe we can do that, and then it shows that you as a provider are trying as well. So once you have that conversation with the parents after you scheduled it and you talked with them, you're going to be able to see if they're going to stay in your program or if they're going to leave your program. And that's basically the 2 steps that I normally take whenever a parent's not cooperating. So first, slowly mention it, give them small hints. You can text them about it, ask them about it, so you can see if it's something that can get solved really quickly. If it's nothing that can get solved and you still think that they're violating, sit down and have a conversation with them. And then once you sit down and you have a conversation with them, you can see if you're going to term them or if you're going to keep them, if that makes any sense. So that's normally what I do whenever I have a parent that's not cooperating with my policies. So I wanted to talk to you guys now about 2 pieces of advice that I would give you guys. Now, the first piece of advice is to include something like the last paragraph that I have in my handbook. So if you guys haven't watched my handbook video, I do have a video on my channel, and I basically go through all of my policies that I have in my handbook. And I wanted to go over in this video my last paragraph. So my last paragraph says, as a provider, I came up with all of these policies to best fit my business. My policies are strict and non-negotiable. If I feel that you are having trouble following or understanding my policies, I will sit down with you and verbally go over the policy you are unclear of or have trouble following. If I feel that you are still contesting and or violating my policies, your child's enrollment may be at risk for immediate termination. So my advice is to have something like that in your handbook. Now, the reason why I say that is because, again, the example in today's video is payments and the person's not paying you on time. If you look in my handbook, under my payment policy, nowhere does it say that if you're not paying me, I'm going to terminate you. It doesn't say it there. That's why I have my last paragraph. That last paragraph is for any policy. If they're not following any of my policies, they're going to get terminated if I feel like they're not listening to me. And after I have a conversation with them, if they're still not obeying my policies, then I'm going to terminate them. That paragraph is also like a security blanket, and I feel like everybody should have a paragraph in their handbook that states that, because it's going to be, again, your security blanket. I just recommend having a paragraph like that in your handbook because, again, it's going to be your security blanket. And whenever you feel like there's something that is going on in your program and you feel like you can't handle it, you can pull that policy out and you can talk to the parents and be like, hey, look, you're not listening to me. I'm going to have to cut ties with you, if that makes sense. So the other thing that I have written down right here is to not be afraid to terminate families. So I have written down right here, it says families sometimes think that they have the upper hand and are the only ones who can end the relationship. So a lot of families think that because of they're paying us, that we're gonna let them do whatever they want, step on us and do basically whatever they want, and that's not the case. It's a two-way street. Just like they can end the relationship, we can as well. Just like your kid can get kicked out of a school, we can kick a child out of our program. So daycare providers, I highly recommend also, even if your daycare is full and you have the maximum amount of kids in your program, I would recommend still touring your daycare, still advertising, so you can build a wait list. Because I know that a lot of providers sometimes are afraid to terminate kids because they're afraid of their income dropping, or they're afraid that they're not gonna be able to fill the spot. I just recommend building a wait list, because that's going to help you feel a little bit more secure when it comes to someone that's not listening to you or giving you a hard time, because you're going to feel a little bit more comfortable to terminate. But again, parents, they think that because they're paying us, they can do whatever they want and that we're going to be quiet because they're paying us, and that's not the case. Just don't be afraid to terminate a family. And again, if there's somebody that's stressing you out or always trying to go above what you have to do or what you're seeing or your policies, it's not worth it. If they don't have respect for you, I think that our mental health and our physical health and our stress levels are way more important than someone that basically doesn't really give a crap about us and our programs. So don't be afraid to terminate. I'm not saying terminate people left and right. Again, try your best to do whatever you can to be able to keep your families. But again, if there's somebody that is literally like grinding your gears, don't be afraid to terminate them. So again, those are the 2 things that I normally do whenever there's a parent not cooperating, and those are the other 2 pieces of advice that I wanted to include in today's video, and that's basically what I do whenever a parent's not cooperating. So if you guys didn't get your questions answered, because again, like I said, different scenarios call for different approaches, but if you guys didn't get your question answered, you guys can always email me, you guys can always leave me a comment, because you guys know that I'm going to respond to you, and I'll try my best to give you a little bit more guidance. But again, this is more like a generic thing, or like a general thing that I do whenever I have a parent that's not cooperating or that's giving me a hard time. So that basically completes today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please subscribe to my channel if you guys have not already, and I will see you guys in my next video.